Law offices of Dan Kaplis, a serious law firm for serious cases.
Tonight, Michael Brown joins me here.
This is the former FEMA director.
Talk show host Michael Brown.
Brownie. Now.
Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job.
It's a heck of a show with Michael Brown.
You're on the radio.
On KOA News Radio.
Hey everybody, how you doing? We are actually back live tonight for an hour. And then starting December 3rd, we'll be back on for the rest of the week we'll be here for an hour. And then starting December 3rd, we'll be here for the full 4 hours, except when we get preempted with a basketball game, which I think, if I don't get this calendar right, happens next Tuesday. So we'll be on for part of a program next Tuesday. So, okay, so let's get all the mechanics out of the way. One, you're listening to Michael Brown on KOA News Radio. If you want to engage with us, there are lots of ways to do it. Sometimes we open the phone lines. We probably won't get to the phone lines tonight since we only have an hour. You can text me at 56690. 56690. You can obviously email me the old-fashioned. Isn't it fascinating that now email's the old-fashioned way? Text me at 56690. Or if you want to email me, Michael Brown at KOANewsRadio.com. But here's the other thing you need to do is this. You need to go over to the KOANewsRadio.com website, and over there, pull down the Michael Brown Show page, and you'll see the little social media symbols there. You'll see it for Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I want you to follow me or like me or subscribe. And let's see, follow me would be on Facebook and on Twitter. Subscribe would be on YouTube. And then, then follow me on Instagram also. Because right now, are we live on Facebook, Angie? Is it working tonight?
Yes, we are.
We haven't gotten kicked off Facebook yet?
Not yet.
It is a good day in paradise when you have not gotten kicked off Facebook yet. So you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Michael D. Brown. Or you can go over to YouTube, youtube.com/Michael Brown today. Not Michael Brown yesterday, not Michael Brown tomorrow, but Michael Brown today. Hit the subscribe button, and then there's apparently a little bell. And if you click the bell, then you will get notifications when Angie and I go live. And you can watch us, and there's always, in fact, let me go over there and look. There's always a bunch of goobers over there. Good goobers, though. I mean, they're good goobers. Don't get me wrong. They're good goobers. Who are over there on YouTube and Facebook, who are always chatting and sending me comments, questions, and so sad. I need to get my MB fixed from this. Yeah, so sad. Oh, come on, Jason. Straighten up, Jason. Let's see what's going on over at Facebook. You go to facebook.com/Michael D. Brown, and we're live over there. Let me click on the video and see what people are doing over on Facebook. And Kenneth is over there. So text me at 56690. Tweet me. Oh, yeah, Twitter. I forgot about Twitter. I'm mad at Twitter. I've not been on Twitter since I left for vacation for the Thanksgiving holiday. Haven't tweeted once. And my life didn't fall apart. Now, I'm going to get back to using Twitter again. But Twitter's in a little bit of a turmoil right now for, they're just in trouble. They're in trouble financially. They're shedding users left and right, and they're beginning to once again purge conservatives from the website, which doesn't make any sense to me. Twitter is a publicly traded company, and you would think that they would want as many users as possible. If you're Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, or you're Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, your job, your fiduciary duty is to the shareholders. And that fiduciary duty is to make as much money as you humanly can. And you can only make money if you're attracting users. It's like the Hollywood stars or athletes or other people who decide that in their, they're going to make some political statement while they're doing their job. An entertainer that's singing. So you pay $500 to go to a concert. Rolling Stones are coming to town. I don't know what the tickets will go for, but I'm sure they'll be expensive. So you pay $500 to go see the Rolling Stones. You don't pay to go see Mick Jagger. Actually, you really just go to see Keith Richards because you want to see a live cadaver. That's why you want to see the Stones. You want to see a live, singing, stand-up cadaver. But if you pay $500, you don't want to hear what Mick Jagger's political views are. You go to a movie. You really don't want to hear the actors or the actresses pontificating about their political views. You want them to act. The same is true with Facebook and Twitter. What you want to do, and let's face it, they're political mediums. They're private companies, they're publicly traded companies, but nonetheless, they are in the business of attracting as many users as possible so that they can provide as many ads and many eyeballs to ads as they possibly can. So why would you shed conservatives? Why would you shed anybody, ban anybody, because they're espousing one political view or another? But that's precisely what they're doing. They just recently kicked off someone who is a senior contributor to The Federalist, a website that I read quite often. I wasn't familiar with this particular guy, but they tell me he was funny, he was engaging, and he had a pretty funny Twitter feed. I like funny Twitter feeds. I also like informative Twitter feeds. But Jack Dorsey decided without any notice whatsoever, and I get it, it's a private company, they can do what they want to do. But remember, they have a fiduciary duty, and that fiduciary duty is to attract as many people as possible to their platform. You can't attract people to your platform if you keep banning people who espouse a particular point of view. Once this Federalist contributor was kicked off Twitter, Glenn Reynolds, who runs a website called Instapundit, very popular website, very good website. If you haven't read it, you should use it. I use it for show prep occasionally. Instapundit.com. He pointed out in an article that he deleted his Twitter account either today, maybe early this morning, or yesterday. But he did it because he found that it was just too much of a cesspool. So I'm going to do my best to use Twitter to be informative, to be funny, to give you things to think about, regardless of the political view, whether it's left or right or whatever. I'm going to give it to you. That's what these platforms are for. And I hear a lot of people complain. Well, they don't complain. They make the argument. They make the argument that they're private companies, and because they're private companies, they can do whatever they want to do. They can kick anybody off if they want to that they don't believe is following their terms of service. But what they don't realize, those people who are making that argument, is this. There's something called Section 230 of the Communications Modernization Act, or whatever, I forget what, CDA or something. Communications Digital Act, I forget what it is, it's a 1986 Act. And Section 230 provides immunity from liability for places like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the any social media platform. For that matter, anything like WordPress or Squarespace, anything that might host a website. These companies are given immunity from liability for anything that might be said on their platform that might be defamatory, that might be libelous, that might be offensive. And they do that in exchange for this, making their platforms neutral. Making the platforms neutral. How can you say that your platform is neutral if you decide to ban someone who has a conservative point of view? I don't like whataboutism, but let me give you an example of what I mean. So this kid gets kicked off from the Federalist. I never followed him, but everything I read about him today said that he was snarky, he was funny, he was smart aleck. Sounds like me, right? He gets kicked off, is given no reason why he's kicked off. Yet the avowed anti-Semite, the Reverend Louis Farrakhan, who thinks that Jews are termites, never gets kicked off. That is siding with a political view. If they're going to do that, I don't think that they're entitled to their immunity under Section 230. I forget the exact section. I'd have to look it up. It's Section 230 of the CDA, which gives them immunity from liability for anything that might be libel or slanderous, as long as they remain neutral. Well, my contention is that social media platforms are no longer remaining neutral. Now, here at KOA News Radio, and iHeartMedia for that matter, social media platforms are an absolute integral part of what we do. The reason Angie and I do Facebook and YouTube, the reason that we broadcast not only on terrestrial radio, but that we do the podcast. Oh, by the way, speaking of the podcasts, they're back up. You can start getting them. If you were subscribing to the podcast when I was over at that other station, you need to go look it up and resubscribe on iTunes or Spreaker to the new podcast. And please do that, because I've lost all of my numbers from the old podcast, and now I need to rebuild all those numbers. And so I'm paying everybody like, I don't know, a couple of $1 million for everybody to go subscribe to the podcast. But the point being is this. Social media platforms in which some 2.6 billion people are engaged in social media platform activities. It's almost like the early 1900s and Theodore Roosevelt wanting to bust up the trusts, wanting to bust up the monopolies. And you might say that we're reaching that kind of tipping point with social media platforms. I don't think Congress is going to do anything. Congress is scared to death of Silicon Valley. Well, at least those on the conservative side, those on the left side, love Silicon Valley. Why? Because Twitter does what it did today. It kicks off what they consider to be a right-of-center point of view. Drives me nuts. Absolutely drives me nuts. All right, so you've probably heard that Trump administration, they were accused of trying to deep six a climate science report that was released on Black Friday. Well, if they were trying to hide the report, they failed miserably, because everybody and their dog reported on this report. CBS News, which I happened to be watching on Black Friday, they reported it. CNN reported it. I know that because I got a soundbite from it. Everybody reported on this climate science report. And the conclusion is this: climate change is occurring. I've never denied that climate change is not occurring. In fact, it is occurring. Climate change has always occurred, and it always will occur. The question is what I'm breathing out, is what I'm expelling every time I exhale CO2, which is considered a greenhouse gas by the EPA and by every other nut job in the country, or the world for that matter, somehow believes that sorry, I just read a comment. This is what I get, Angie, when I look down and I read a comment on, I had to change my studios here. The interview about global warming. I love it. If man has anything to do, even infinitesimally, with climate change, do you really believe that what we do in terms of burning coal, in terms of what we do burning carbon fuels, if we were to eliminate all of that tomorrow, do you think the climate would just stop changing? Would the sun just say, look down upon us and say, oh, look, they've quit burning fossil fuels. So the sun says, I'm no longer going to expel sunspots. I'm no longer going to do this or do that. No. all of those things that occur naturally in the universe would continue to occur, and the climate would continue to change. But somehow, people have become convinced that if we don't make a change, we're going to destroy the planet, and that the people who will be hit hardest are poor people. Have you heard about the riots in Paris? Paris over the holidays was ablaze. Paris was burning.
A very tense day on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. Clashes erupted between police and some yellow vests. Authorities used water cannons and tear gas for several hours in order to counter the most radical protesters. While many regret these incidents, others believe these methods are the only way to be heard by their government.
Honestly, what do they think they're doing? There are certainly some rioters, but we're not responsible for that. We're just here to be heard. The problem in France is that we don't have a choice. If we want something, we need to fight for it. They don't listen to us anymore.
Emmanuel Macron was the main target of the thousands of yellow vests gathered this Saturday. But apart from the president, the whole French political class is criticized by the demonstrators.
I'm demonstrating because it's not possible anymore. I'm retired and we can't make ends meet anymore. It's not possible. And I don't understand why the members of parliament, the senators, have all these privileges. We don't diminish their salaries. Who do they think we are? What are we? What are we? Are we sheep? What are we? Are we the dogs of French society? Is that why our ancestors fought?
What started off as a movement against taxes on fuel morphed into a larger gathering against other types of tax, as well as to denounce the cost of living in France and social inequalities.
Do you get what they're rioting about? The original riots, because Paris, or France, is still part of the Paris Climate Accords. And as part of the Climate Accords, they've implemented a carbon tax. So now the price of the equivalent of a gallon of gas in France is about $7 a gallon. $7 a gallon. Increased some 30% overnight because of a carbon tax. So the carbon tax, which is supposed to reduce or stop or reverse or whatever verb you want to use climate change, because climate change is going to hurt poor people, the carbon tax is hurting the very people that all of these do-gooders want to try to help. Now, I'm not done with this story. I'm not done with it at all. Because what I want you to hear is how CNN reported it. Oh, everybody and their dog was reporting on the riots in Paris. But they focused on the issue of inequality and nationalism. Because, of course, nationalism is the big bugaboo, right? Well, hang on. You'll hear CNN's angle next.
Tomorrow on Colorado's Morning News.
Our Broncos insider weighs in on the most winnable games ahead for the team.
Did you buy gifts online? We'll check the Cyber Monday numbers.
And here comes the warm-up after days of cold weather.
Your forecast on KOA News Radio.
Sometimes in this business, you meet with the potential sponsor and you immediately connect, knowing that this is somebody that if I needed their services, this is who I would turn to. I met one of those people recently, personal injury attorney Mark Simon. He personifies my view of what great lawyers should be: compassionate, caring, hardworking, and tenacious. We're bombarded with attorney ads on radio and television. Let me tell you why you should hire Mark Simon. Because I would. His deep conviction about caring for his clients stems from his background as a registered nurse. My respect stems from his experience. He takes only cases that are legitimate, where people have been denied just compensation for their injuries, and he does the work himself. As a lawyer, that means a lot to me. So if you, a friend, or a family member has been hurt in an accident or work or anywhere, call the lawyer I would call, Mark Simon, 303-321-HURT. 303-321-HURT, or visit coloradolawyer.net. That's coloradolawyer.net. Bombas.net.
What would it take for you to get a tattoo you didn't want? $1 million? How about 1 million socks? I'm Randy from Bombas. When me and my business partner Dave,
how's it going?
Quit our jobs to start a sock company,
Bombas,
we wanted to make the best socks in the history of feet. No more annoying seam, no more falling down your leg, added arch support.
You get the idea.
And what's better than creating the best socks in the history of feet?
Sharing them.
This is what we do. 1 pair purchased equals 1 pair donated to those in need. Our dream was always to donate 1 million pairs. We thought it would take 10 years. That's why Dave said,
when we donate 1 million pairs of socks, I'll get a tattoo to celebrate.
But then something happened. People loved our socks, and instead of 10 years, it only took 2.5. 1 million pairs.
And 1 Bombas tattoo on my arm.
Feel the most comfortable socks in the history of feet by going to bombas.com/KOA and get 20% off your first order. That's bombas.com/KOA.
Ever since I was little, I imagined owning a bakery. With hard work, I made it happen. But after this weekend's robbery, I realized that I need to protect my dream with security.
I've got a great answer for you. Safe Systems, your trusted family-owned business, understands the threats you might face. Visit safe-systems.com or call 1-800-446-7519. Proudly serving Colorado since 1982.
When was the last time you smiled with confidence and pride? Can't remember because it's been so long? Put your dental problems behind you and get back to smiling confidently and eating the foods that you used to love. Hi, it's April. Clear Choice Dental Implant Center delivers a convenient, comfortable dental implant treatment experience to Coloradans looking for a long-term solution to their dental health issues. You know, many patients say that dental implants feel and function just like real teeth. You'll be able to eat, talk, and smile again with comfort and confidence. There's no slipping, readjusting, reapplying adhesives, or taking them out every night like dentures. Dental implants don't cover your palate, so you can continue to taste the foods that you love. For more information, visit clearchoice.com or call 888-234-7568 and schedule a free, no-obligation consultation. That's clearchoice.com or call 888-234-7568. But get back out there with dental implants from Clear Choice Dental Implant Center and tell them that April sent you.
Hurricanes Michael and Florence did a number on some big resort communities on the East Coast. If your timeshare is in an area prone to natural disasters, you could be liable for a portion of the cleanup and the repair. Folks, this is why I tell you timeshares are a horrible idea. If you're tired of fees, call Timeshare Exit Team, the only company I trust. They'll get you out or give you a full refund. Call 844-999-EXIT, timeshareexitteam.com.
KOA News Radio,
an iHeartRadio station.
KOA News Radio time is 7:30. Good evening, I'm Roger Crittlebaugh. The Mars InSight has landed on Mars.
Right behind me is a mock-up of the Mars InSight lander. It's about the size of a large SUV and took off, the real one took off back in May from Vandenberg Air Force Base here in California. It has now traveled about 300 million miles.
That's ABC's Clayton Sandell. The InSight was built by Lockheed Martin in Waterton Canyon. The company changed their name today to Lockheed Martian. Mexico says it's taking action after some migrants tried to rush the border crossing at San Ysidro yesterday.
Mexico says it's deporting 98 migrants who tried to breach the border with the U.S. here on Sunday, that they'll be sent back to their home countries. Mexico says it was around 500 migrants who were involved in the rush. The U.S. says that number was closer to 1,000. U.S. Customs and Border Protection says it's 69 migrants who tried to cross the border illegally were arrested on the U.S. side.
ABC's Alex Stone. The death toll in the Camp Fire north of Sacramento is now up to 88. Butte County Sheriff Corey Honey explained that the number went up today because of new forensic information in remains they previously recovered. No new remains were found today. Colorado Buffaloes basketball team hosts Portland on Wednesday night. The Buffaloes sitting 3-1 after Saturday's 93-56 rout of Air Force. Our next update at 8 o'clock. I'm Roger Crittlebaugh on KOA News Radio, 850 AM and 94.1 FM. And now traffic and weather together with Bill Jones. Hello, Bill.
Well, Roger, your Monday night drive looking great right now. We've cleared an accident, C-470 westbound, approaching Lucent. Another crash has been cleared northbound I-225 approaching Parker Road. Off highway, a couple of accidents still working, one at University and Cherry Creek Drive North. another one at 19th in Quebec, and a third crash at 3rd and Broadway, but that's about it. The rest of the drive is in great shape. CBS 4 weather mostly clear tonight, a low near freezing. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a high near 60 degrees. Right now in Denver, 36. This report is sponsored by Belco. Considering a home purchase or refi between now and December 31st, when you apply for a Belco First Mortgage, pay no origination fee at closing. Membership eligibility required. Equal housing opportunity. Loan subject to approval. Belco.org/mortgage. Belco, banking for everyone. I'm Bill Jones, KOA News Radio, Colorado's news, traffic, and weather station.
I've bought more guns at one place than any other place in my life, and that's at 14th and Arapahoe in Boulder. Gunsport is our kind of store, and I think that's where you ought to be buying your firearms too. You're going to find quality firearms and knives. They've got a large selection of ammo, scopes, holsters, books. They buy, sell, trade, and they take consignment. Gunsport is family-owned, and they treat us like family. A family-run business where they focus on atmosphere, and they focus on us. Everybody from the old hard gun vets to the person that's never shot before, Ross, the owner, and Jason, his son, are going to treat us all the same. They've got rare ammo, collector's guns, you name it, they've got it or they can get it. So I want you to drive up to Boulder and see for yourself why I've spent more money at Gunsport than any other single location. 14th and Arapahoe in Boulder. You can't miss this grand old building. Trust me, once you turn the corner, you'll understand why. And once you go inside, you'll understand why I love this place. 14th and Arapahoe, or online, gunsport.us. And when you go, tell them Michael Brown sent you.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome back? Thank you very, very much for waiting. Would you welcome, please, the Rolling Stones?
Hi, this is Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones.
And I'm Keith Richards. The Rolling Stones. Stones. No filter. The Stones are back on the road in 2019.
We look forward very much to seeing you.
Thanks for being there for us. Tickets on sale Friday, November 30th at 10 a.m. at rollingstones.com and ticketmaster.com.
The unemployment rate is at a 48-year low. Most people that want to work are working. If you're trying to fill open positions at your business, you'll have to find your next candidate from the currently employed. iHeartMedia can help you spread the word to 92% of the U.S. population. That's right, 92%. Use this radio station to find your next employee driving to or sitting at their current job. You'll have your pick of the most qualified candidates for any position you have available. We can help. Go to iHeartWorks.com. That's iHeartWorks.com.
So you're moving. Congratulations! Because right now you have the opportunity to move from average homeowner to savvy investor practically overnight. How? By renting out your home with Renters Warehouse. Unlike selling your home, owning and renting property can deliver steady cash flow and long-term equity plus great tax breaks. It's called Rent Estate. Think about it. Do you want a one-and-done sale gutted by commissions and closing costs? Or would you rather turn your home into a giant cash register that rings over and over every month? Renters Warehouse does all the grunt work for a low, flat monthly fee, so you can sit back and enjoy financial freedom. Rent Estate Investments could even help you retire early. Go from homeowner to investor today with Renters Warehouse. Get started with a free home rental price analysis and find out how much your home will rent for. Or talk to your local Rent Estate advisor. Renters Warehouse, the professional landlords of Rent Estate.
Find out how much your home will rent for. Renters Warehouse. RentersWarehouse.com.
Hi, this is Dave Logan to talk about Trice Jewelers. Did you know that in her lifetime, a woman looks at her diamond ring over 1 million times? So, fellas, Trice Jewelers is here to help you find that unique diamond ring that will make her smile 1 million times. They've just got a great store. With their in-house design center, you're guaranteed to have a unique kind of diamond ring. And, of course, they always back it up with the Trice Lifetime Warranty. It's easy and fun to create your own diamond ring as well. Trice has design technology that other stores, frankly, just don't have. So the ring gets 1 million looks, of course, but it doesn't need to cost 1 million. With their in-house design center, that means you'll get the quality without the additional extras other stores add on. And that's because they have to send their work out to some trade shop, not at Trice. All the work is performed right in their store by incredibly talented master jewelry craftsmen. Trice Jewelers, for 60 years on University just south of Arapahoe Road. And believe me, you simply can't find a better diamond at a lower price anywhere else, including the internet. TriceJewelers.com.
Here we go. Time for the festive feel. Time for iHeart Christmas Radio and North Pole Radio. iHeart Christmas Radio has you covered with 100% Christmas favorites, commercial free.
And North Pole Radio is a fun musical sleigh ride hosted by Santa himself.
That's right.
So as we dive into the holidays, make sure you keep iHeartRadio as your feel-good soundtrack. Your music, your stations and podcasts, anytime, anywhere.
Back to Michael Brown on KOA News Radio and streaming live at KOANewsRadio.com.
And the caravan is on its way. I can hear the merry gypsy play. Mama, mama, I look at Amarillo. She's there playing with the radio. La, la, la,
La, la. So the big news is climate change. We're all going to die. You know, back when I was in high school, we were all going to die from freezing temperatures. Now we're all going to die from, I guess, boiling temperatures. But the fact of the matter is, we're all going to die. I'm sorry. We're all going to die. And I don't know why we get so wrapped around the axle about climate change. If you understand anything about... I am not a climate change denier. I am an anthropogenic climate change denier. In fact, maybe I'm not even that. Because I might grant you that man has some minuscule effect on the climate. But if we're going to somehow believe that we can adopt a public policy in this little part of the world called the United States, and that what we do in the United States is somehow going to keep the climate from changing all over the world, that's just stupid arrogance. And have you ever thought about this? Who decided that the current climate, or the climate of the 1970s? If you've lived in Colorado for as long as I have, you know that the climate has gone through a couple of cycles where we have winters earlier, springs later, things move around. You can base that on your own observations. But who's in charge that made it? I mean, is there some like secret committee somewhere sitting in an igloo somewhere in Fairbanks, Alaska, or they wouldn't be in Fairbanks, but north of Fairbanks, somewhere up in the Arctic Circle, a bunch of Eskimos sitting in an igloo somewhere? That's probably racist, I don't know. And they've decided that this should be the temperature here, this should be the temperature there, and this should be the climate around the world. Because if that's what they've decided, what are they going to do the next time there's some humongous, gigantic, volcanic eruption that screws everything up? I don't know why it is that we are so arrogant and we are so short-sighted to believe that the climate that exists today is the climate that is supposed to be. The French, before I get to CNN, the French protests are about the carbon tax.
Anger continues to grow over the country's rising fuel taxes. Thousands across France are also protesting President Emmanuel Macron's administration. Macron has defended the fuel tax, saying they're necessary to wean the country off fossil fuels. Lisa Hampley from our partners at the BBC reports.
Now, before the BBC gives their little report, did you hear what the setup was? The setup for this story is they've implemented the carbon tax to get people off fossil fuels. I don't know of anything. Let's just say that suddenly France went the way of like California and decided that, yep, zero emissions. You can't have a car unless it's all electric. How are you going to manufacture that? how are you going to manufacture an all-electric car without using fossil fuels? Now, somewhere in the, I don't know, maybe not too distant future, or somewhere in a distant future far, far away, we might be able to develop some sort of manufacturing process that doesn't require any sort of metals or any sort of metallurgical processes, that doesn't require the heating of steel or any other material. But until then, all of you, and look, I don't care, I do not care if you drive an electric vehicle. Just don't tell me you're saving the world. Don't tell me that you're emissions free, because you're not. The emissions that were spewed into the atmosphere to produce the batteries, let alone just the body of the car, is probably more than if you just bought a regular vehicle. So the setup for this story is that France has implemented these carbon taxes, which has jacked up the price of gas in order to get people off gas. And they are afraid that if they don't do this, that climate change is going to hurt poor people. Yet poor people, the ones who can least afford a spike in gas prices, are the ones that are currently hurt the most.
A sea of yellow, the protesters in their trademark high-vis jackets on the Champs-Élysées. The authorities mean business too, using water cannon and tear gas against the thousands of protesters, trying to prevent them moving down to the Palais de la Concorde and the presidential palace, which has been cordoned off. Organisers bill this as Act 2 in their rolling campaign. They're angry about an increase in diesel tax, justified by the government as an anti-pollution levy. But the campaign has grown into a broad opposition against President Emmanuel Macron. This metalworker says, "We feel like we've been working for years now, and it's just extortion, while members of the government live like princes."
You know, worldwide, globally, there is a push against government elites. You have to admit, it's fascinating to watch. It's occurring in our own country. We've developed, in America, a ruling class. And what you saw in the 2016 election was a pushback against that ruling class. That is occurring worldwide. But I digress. So the BBC and Euronews, which we played in the last segment, all refer to the carbon tax. Let's go to CNN.
I want to take you to Paris now. Stunning pictures coming out of there. Protesters filling the most famous street in France, the iconic Champs-Élysées, with fire and explosions.
Everybody used that same explosion. Everybody used that same explosion.
In a second weekend of protests, the usual scene of tourists and Parisians enjoying cafes and luxury shops replaced by burning vehicles. As 8,000 protesters clashed with 3,000 police in riot gear. The demonstrators, who call themselves the Yellow Vests, are angry over rising fuel prices. Now, police used tear gas and a water cannon in an attempt to break up these demonstrations.
Rising fuel prices. You would just think that, it must be supply and demand, right? Rising fuel prices must mean that, well, there's a shortage of fuel, and then the demand for fuel keeps going up. And so as demand rises and supply decreases, you have an increase in price. That's exactly what CNN wants you to believe. But that's not at all what happened. CNN lied. Rising fuel prices brought on by carbon taxes, an increase in taxes, nothing to do with supply and demand.
CNN's Jim Bitterman is joining us now from Paris. Jim, tell us why these protesters are so angry.
Well, I think it started off as a fuel protest a week ago, Anna, but in fact, over the last few days, it's generalized a lot. People are just dissatisfied with the matter.
A fuel price No mention whatsoever of what has caused the fuel price. Just the fuel price. That's all CNN wants you to know, is that there was just a fuel price increase in France, and people got irritated, and so they started spilling out on the Champs-Élysées and blowing crap up.
Macron government, his approval rating has dropped to 25%. They're worried about the rising cost of living, about pension payments that aren't really making ends meet. So it's just a generalized anger about the state of the economy. And of course, President Macron has vowed to continue forward on his ideas of reforming the economy here. So I think people just have had...
It's almost as if he is trying to avoid, and people are rioting because Macron has decided he's going to continue with his dang it, I don't want to say carbon tax. I don't want to tell the American audience why they're really rioting. His economic program. Why don't you just tell us the truth? Just tell us the truth.
Had enough, and you heard a lot of people say that today. You heard a lot of people calling for Macron's resignation. Now, here on the Champs-Élysées, this is not the scene you would expect on the Saturday night following Black Friday. You would think there'd be a lot of people out.
No, you'd actually expect that scene on Black Friday. I mean, as long as there's riots and bombings and there's fires and cars being overturned, you wouldn't expect that on a Saturday night. You would expect that on Black Friday, which makes this even more fascinating. They were too busy shopping on Black Friday. They saved the riots until Saturday.
That sort of thing. People today were protesters throughout the day, and only about an hour ago or so did the police make a move with a major assault on the avenue here with multiple trucks and hundreds of police to clear away the demonstrators. And for the most part, they've succeeded. There are still a few pockets of resistance along here. We haven't heard from Macron all day until very late this evening when he put out this tweet. He said, thanks to all...
Tweet. You see, it goes back to my whole point about Twitter. Twitter's how we communicate now.
All the law enforcement, you'd expect that, but he said, shame on all the people who assaulted them, shame on those who voluntarily assaulted citizens and reporters, shame on those who tried to intimidate our elected officials.
And I would agree. Shame on all those people for doing all of those things, but how about shame on Macron? How about shame on the French Parliament for imposing the carbon tax? Now, back to my point about who made the decision that the current climate is the appropriate climate. Yesterday's Wall Street Journal had a story. The headline is this: a warming climate brings new crops to frigid zones. You mean we might have a longer growing season? And you mean geographically we might have a wider growing area? Upper Alberta, that's in Canada. Upper Alberta is bitter cold much of the year and remote. Not much grows other than the spruce and poplar that spread out 100 miles around Highway 88 north toward Lacrete. Signs warn drivers to watch for moose and make sure their gas tanks are filled. Farms have produced mostly wheat, canola, and barley. Summers were so short that farmer Dickie Dreiger used to tease his wife about wasting garden space growing corn. Today, he's the one growing the corn. So are many other northern Alberta farmers who are plowing up forests. Oh my God, they're cutting down trees to grow corn. Oh no. Which lets them still grow more of it. The new prospect of warmer weather crops is helping lift farmland prices, with an acre near Lacrete selling for nearly 5 times what it fetched 10 years ago. One reason? Warming. Longer growing seasons. Temperatures around Lacrete are 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit warmer on average annually than 68 years ago. Oh, you mean 68 years ago, the temperature was cooler, and now 68 years later it's going to be warmer. I probably won't be around another 68 years, but someone keep this tape. Someone keep this this MP3, and in 68 years, see if the weather in Lacrete, in Alberta, starts to go back down. Things are definitely changing, says the farmer. A few degrees doesn't sound like much. He's farmed for 30 years in an area roughly as far north as Juneau, Alaska. Maybe it doesn't make such a big difference on wheat or canola, but on corn it sure does. And he's now making more money, growing more corn, and prices are going up. So who's to say? I mean, who made the decision that the climate that we had even 10 years ago is the climate we should have for all time? Why is Greenland called Greenland? Over the holidays, I read a story about the winds in Greenland are circling around so strong that the Arctic sea ice extent is growing so wide, so fast. Yet at the same time, parts of Alaska are seeing warmer temperatures. What does that tell you? It should tell you that the Earth goes through an evolution where things change. Some places are warmer, some places are cooler, and then some places are cooler, and some places are warmer. It's just the way things go. I don't know why we have to get so ticked off about climate change. Here's an idea. Instead of spending so much money and trying to come up with a public policy that some arrogant SOBs in Washington think can stop the Earth from doing what the Earth and the solar system are going to do, how about instead spending some money on learning to mitigate? Let's just say if sea levels are going to rise, why aren't we doing mitigation in Miami Beach? Why aren't we doing mitigation building seawalls in the Hudson or the East River in New York? Why aren't we building seawalls around Boston, Providence? Why aren't we doing any of that? No, we're spending money foolishly because we think that we can come up with a public policy that if we just spend enough money and we put enough control on how you live your life, we can stop the solar system from doing what the solar system's going to do. And that is the arrogance of climate change religion. It truly is. It's not a science. It's a religion. Those who actually study climate science will tell you that the Earth has always gone through these changes. And for us to now believe that somehow we're so damn arrogant to think that we can do something to stop the inevitable change that the solar system goes through, you know what that does? That tells me that you're so arrogant that you don't believe in physics, you don't believe in the ability of the solar system to go through these changes. In fact, you don't even believe in God. Because clearly, we've always gone through these changes, and we always will. All right. This week, we're still going to be out in 1 hour. Next week, 4 hours. 4 hours starting next Monday.
That's pretty much all I got.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building.
With KOA on my smart speaker, I know what's going on before I even roll out of bed in the morning.